what I'm doing is getting the electricity loosened up so I can get the electric out of here. I've taken off the plate, the cover plate, and now I have to take the loosen the cable for the Romex so that we can get the metal clad Romex out of here. Okay, that's loose in the connector now. And then what I'm going to do next is pull down the wires. Here's our white wire connector. And here is our black wire connector. And these are wire nuts, these yellow things. They're the ones that keep the wires together. And we unhook the wire nuts. There's the white from the machine. And there's the black. And why we have a yellow or black, a blue and a, I don't understand blue and white, but I do know that the white is the continuity, and in this case the blue is the wire for the black, the traveler wire. Alright, now we got to kind of just pull them all through for right now. The good thing about it is that this unit is old enough that this is number 12 gauge wire for something that uses so much amperage as a washer, a disposal. It's a good thing that we have that. So there's our wires disconnected, and the next thing we're going to do is we're going to disconnect the unit from the sink itself, and I need to get the right tool for that. It's this L-shaped wrench, which does a couple of things, but one, what it does, you use it as a tool to loosen the garbage disposal. Now you see it starting to turn. It's supposed to come out in my hand, but it came out down. But that's what you have to do to release the garbage disposal. Now what I want to do is just show you the inside of this old garbage disposal. You'll see it's all rusty. You see that? Corroded. And that is basically because it's a partial use and it's sat for a long time without being used. And what I'm really recommending to people is, even if they're not putting a lot of garbage down in there, just make sure they run it like once or twice a week. Just to make sure things get taken up. Now I want to show you the bottom of this machine to show you the little buttons I was pushing and things like that. Let me get the waste pan out here. But if your garbage disposal stops running and jammed, you see this little button here? They're usually red, and this one is not, but sometimes if it's too much of an overload, this is like a circuit breaker. It trips and stops the machine from running. And what you do is you turn it off until the machine gets cool, push the button and see if it runs. Well, in this case it didn't run, and what we needed to do was our wrench that we took it off with is also the wrench to loosen or tighten or to get the product loose. And as you can see, this thing is frozen solid. And that was what I used to determine the fact that we needed a new disposal in here. Alright, this is the new one. And we bought this Badger at Home Depot. Lowe's has incinerators, Badgers, they all have ones that are pretty much the same. And this is where the water is going to go into the trap. Here again you see our little red button that we talked about before. And you'll notice when I put the key in here how easily it turns. And this is what we do if there's a jam. You always want to run this key in there just to break whatever is in there loose. The other thing, the tops of these that this hooks onto are fairly universal. So rather than taking the connector that's out of there, that's in there now out, we don't need to do that because the new garbage disposal will fit onto the connector that's in the sink right now. There's no corrosion around the sink drain now or anything like that, or I would take that out and replace that. But that particular part of it's fine, and there's no point in going through the extra steps. So this is just kind of a gyration of what do we do to get it up in there, hold it, and get it to hook into place. So that's probably the hardest part of this, is to get it up, hold it, and then we use our tool to turn these in position. One of the cautionary things, one of the things that I remember doing, if you'll look at this, this goes uphill. Alright, so what we want to do when we place these rings is catch it on the lower side and push it up. That way it'll hold itself in place. It's a little bit tricky, but that's what we need to do. The other thing about a disposal, we're not hooking up to a dishwasher here. Now this would be the connector where the water comes into the from the dishwasher into the disposal. And inside there is a plastic cap. And since we don't have a dishwasher to hook up to it, we do not remove the plastic cap. And too many times folks don't remember that, including me. My first time that I tried to do this, I hooked my dishwasher up and I got water all over the floor because I forgot to remove the plastic cap to let the water in. But in this instance, without having a dishwasher hooked up, we don't do anything with that plastic cap but leave it in place. Remember we talked about removing this plate when it was up underneath to get to the wires. Now what you do is loosen it and it slides off. And our wires for this are right here. And then what we need to do is get the connector from the old one and put it on here, and then we'll run our conduit in and through and hook that up, and then hook our wires up. And you'll notice right here the green one is for our ground wire. This particular system is old enough that it does not have a ground wire hooked up to it. And what we're going to assume is what they assumed back there 30 years ago when they built this place, is that the conduit, the metal conduit connected to the connector, acts as the ground. If this were a modern day hookup, the wires coming out of the wall would have a ground wire to it, which we would hook up here.